Jupiter Broadcasting presents this program in stereo, where available. This episode brought to you in part by GoDaddy.com.
This week on the Linux Action Show, Linux went big at CES this year. We'll cover the highlights and give you the full scoop on Ubuntu TV. Plus, a preview release of Unity has been unleashed upon the web. We'll tell you all about the shiny bits and introduce you to a great Linux game, In Space! And so much more. Oh, this week on the Linux Action Show! And welcome to Linux Action Show Season 20, Episode 2. My name, as you are well aware, is Brian. The guy next to me happens to be Chris.
Hey, Brian. U.S. spy drone control centers will soon be running Linux.
Nice.
Yeah, check out these
The
pictures.
nice part about that, and this just an aside, is that we will no longer be just randomly willy-nilly giving our spy drones to other countries on accident.
True, right. Yeah, well, so I have mixed feelings about the U.S. spy drone program running Linux. I mean, at one part of me, the Linux geek in me loves to see Linux get spread around.
Everywhere. And I like things that are flying running Linux. We've talked about those laser flying combat, target drones. Yes. Those are just mega cool.
But the human in me hates the idea of powered robots. Now, if you guys haven't seen these things are pretty wicked. Of course, here's a picture of Iran. They captured one of the U.S.'s down drones. And
no, this one's not running Linux.
No, their control centers will be running Linux.
Okay.
But look at this thing. Doesn't that look like, that looks like a spaceship, right? And here's a few pictures of what their control center looks like. They even have mock pilot seats and all kinds of, and all of that.
Cool.
You know, we've covered it on TechSnap, but they've actually had Trojans and virus infections in these control centers. They've been having malware issues with XP. They
really need to move to Linux or BSD or something.
So they're moving to Linux, yeah.
Good on them.
I know.
Good on them. They just gotta.
So,
holy moly.
Not only are we going to do our best of CES today,
but
we're going to introduce a new pick that I think people are going to love. And we've got an awesome news doc. We got a
lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff going on. But first, I want to talk about my face for a second.
Oh.
Now, I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
And those watching the video feed, here, let me get a good look.
Yeah, you got a little...
Not shaven.
You got a little,
I haven't shaved in a day or two. Here's what's going on there. I woke up, because you're interested. I woke up and it's snowing. It's snowing like a crazy, crazy frozen world right now.
I know it is.
And it's cold, it's snowy, and it's awful.
I actually thought you'd have to Skype in today.
I thought I would too. Yeah. Through the truck and four-wheel drive, made it up here, no problem.
Good man.
So I go out this morning. So super cold.
Yeah.
You know, I got my goats outside.
Yeah.
And of course, I got to go take care of them first thing in the morning. As soon as there's daylight, I got to get out there because they got their buckets of water frozen like a rock.
Oh, you got to stomp those.
Got to crack it open, got to fill it up with some nice warm water from the kitchen so they got some good warm stuff to drink and feed them and everything like that.
Nice.
I go inside, got a little raspiness.
Oh.
And I just haven't been able to shake it since then. I think I got too much cold air
in the morning.
All at once.
Yeah.
Then I go into the bathroom.
Yeah.
Take my shower. Get real clean.
Yeah.
You know? I use the Dr. Bronner soap. Good stuff.
Okay.
Cover my body in it. Tingles all great.
All right, man.
I'm clean as can be is what I'm saying.
Okay.
I get out. I go in front of the mirror. I go to shave my face. Electric shaver breaks.
Oh, man.
The good news was it was before I really even got started. So, I didn't have a half-shaven face.
That's true. Oh, boy.
So my shaver has, it's one of those big flat rectangle shaving type deals.
Yeah.
All of it stops working except for the very far edge. So there's about a centimeter worth of blades that are still moving. So I tried to make that work, didn't work. I decided my face and neck are cursed today. So if my voice gives out halfway through the show, my apologies. It's because of the coldness of goats and bad razor
I've got
blades.
a trimmer upstairs you can borrow if you want to.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay, all right.
I'm not going to do that. If you guys don't know that inside joke, go look at an old Beer is Tasty. I think it's called man sculpting.
Yeah.
Chris did a bad thing. So anyway, but before we go any further, I want to talk about the good folks over at GoDaddy.com.
GoDaddy.com, bro.
Here's the thing about GoDaddy.com. Apparently they hate the internet and freedom. No, here's the thing. They don't. You guys need to chill about this. Right there, right here. This is Danica Patrick.
Yeah.
Or as Chris calls her sometimes, Danica Patrick.
You know, that's true. I haven't really said much about the whole SOPA GoDaddy thing. And the thing about it, here, I'll just say it like this. They probably don't love us talking about it during an ad. But
no, probably not.
If you're gonna set up a boycott, and then that boycott is successful, the whole point about having a successful boycott is once the company has reversed their position, you
got to give them a pat on the back.
Well, or at least, you know, they've served their time. You've punished them, and then they came out and now they're opposing it, and they've actually written a letter to Congress about it. I mean,
right?
So it's a complete 180.
Here's kind of how I look at it. If we were to like start a protest against Microsoft, and you're like, boo, how come you're not open sourcing your stuff? And Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer and everyone sit down and go, you know what, guys, our bad. Here, let's open source every piece of code we had under GPL. And then, in response to them doing that, we go, you guys are terrible. How could you? Like, no, you guys, they did what we wanted.
Yeah.
They listened to us, and they did it.
Right.
And go back to the picture.
Bongos.
Danica Patrick.
Yeah.
And they give good deals on web stuff, and they host a really good job. And host a really good job. That's not even a sentence. It's so they do such a good job at hosting. I can't even make sense.
What it comes down to, I think, really at the end of the day, for most people who are professionals and serious about it, is when it's your job and you're doing it for clients and you need to be responsible, or you have to work with teams and you need something that's supportable and sustainable for the long term, you're going to go to the #1 domain registrar because that's who the whole industry works with.
And Danica Patrick is right on the front of their website. How many websites have that going for them other than Danica Patrick's own website?
And you use the code Linux when you check out to save 10%, or Linux20 to save 20% off shared hosting. I'm also going to put a few bonus codes in the show notes, so if you're shopping over at GoDaddy, go check those out. And honestly, a huge thanks to GoDaddy for not only just supporting Jupiter Broadcasting, I mean, literally, none of the shows.
They make podcasting work.
None of the shows, not the Linux Action Show, not TechSnap, not Stoked, nothing would be on the air if GoDaddy didn't support this network.
I mean, heck, all of the big podcasting networks, with very few exceptions, are supported in large part by GoDaddy.
I can only think of one podcast network that isn't supported by GoDaddy, and that's Twit, and that's because Leo Laporte has a radio show, and if you notice, all of his advertisers on his network are all sponsors from his radio show.
And how many times do you tune into things like that and they're sponsored by Visa and MasterCard and things like that? And honestly, do you guys think those guys are just roses?
I know that's so true too.
Seriously?
There's a whole pragmatism angle to it too. So
anyway, GoDaddy's awesome.
Thank you to GoDaddy.
Seriously.
Thank you for the continued support. Thank you to all the awesome people who've written us and, you know, who've talked to me about SOPA and all of those things. And I know they don't want me to talk about it in public, but I know you guys down there are awesome people, and so thank you for supporting Linux Action.
All right, on to Linux.
Let's do, we've got a new pick coming up, but I thought maybe I'd throw out my Android pick because it's just perfect for the climate today, and that is Winter Wake Up. It's a free app, and it's an alarm clock app that checks the weather report, and if it's snowy or icy outside, it will wake you up a little bit earlier. So that way you're not late. So, you know, you can go out there and scrape the car.
Dude, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I know, right? So
the built-in alarm clock should just do that.
And it also has
like thought of that before.
It also has a checkbox down at the bottom that says, don't bother to wake me up if the weather's too bad. I'll just work Saturday. So I thought, you know, with it being snowy outside and all that stuff.
Does it let you? Can you like set what that means, like below 14 degrees or something like that?
I don't think so. To be honest, I just grabbed this because of those snow days.
That's a brilliant idea.
I have not tried this because since we've had children, I have not needed an alarm clock. So I have no reason to try this.
That's my thing too.
Yeah.
I never.
But I know there's people out there, and I don't commute anywhere either.
Yeah, that's same. Yeah. that kind of helps, huh?
But I know there's people in our audience who do, and why not? You know, this will wake you up a little early, and you know, worst case scenario, you just fire up a Jupiter Broadcasting podcast a little bit earlier, right?
Right.
There you go,
dude. That might be the favorite like cool little app that you've had on your Android.
So that is
far.
Winter Wake Up.
That's unique and cool.
And there's a link to that in the show notes, as well as thanks to Majo who puts a list of all of the previous links, telling you that's a way to load up your new Android device. Just go look at those previous app picks and go to town.
Love it.
All right, B-Man, we got a Linux desktop pick.
All right, we got a Linux desktop app. We're going with games this week because I felt like playing games. We're going with Free Orion, which if you've played Master of Orion 1 or 2 in the past, or any of the 4x4, you know, kind of epic space galactic battle sort of strategy games, you know exactly what to expect. Lots of, you know, leveling up your science, lots of taking over planets, lots of building up colonies, designing ships. It's a really cool game. It's kind of loosely based based on the Master of Orion series, but really it's its own deal anyway. It's evolved into its own thing. It's got its own particular look and style, and they've done a really great job on it. It's got some great development lately, and it's definitely worth a look.
And they got binaries you can download for your OS of choice.
Yeah, for every platform. But Linux, which is the important part.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Now, something new, B-Man. We're going to spin the Linux distro wheel here and pick a random distribution for folks.
Now, here's what we've been thinking. We've talked a lot about how cool would it be to review some of these lesser-known distros. And we're going to be doing that. But we can't review them all. There's hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of distros out there.
A lot of distros, guys.
And they deserve some attention. Some of them, I'm going to be frank, suck just a little bit. Some of them are incredibly cool, but Chris and I don't know the first thing about them. So we wouldn't even know how to review them. So what we decided to do is this. We are literally picking Linux distributions at random that we do not currently run. Probably.
They have to meet a certain bar. Yeah, they can't be super popular, at least that we know of.
Right. We're not going to be randomly picking Ubuntu here.
And what I'm wondering, what we're kind of experimenting with is some of these might stick with you guys, and if we start hearing, oh my God, that one you guys did was awesome,
then we'll do an in-depth review on it.
Yeah.
So to start things off, we spun our wheel of random distro picking power, and we picked Deft. Deft Linux is all about computer forensics and like digital information recovery. And it's basically, you know, a little live CD that lets you boot in and do digital forensics on a computer, restore deleted data, and all that good stuff that you do on crime shows where they'd be like enhance and things like that, except I don't know how it works, but it's digital forensics and crime and such.
One of the things I like is they've focused on making it run on Macs too, so you can do forensics on Macs. A lot of these forensic CDs fall down when they hit that kind of hardware. So that's cool. Tons of tools preloaded on here, including like Windows specific tools like user rights managers,
the registry.
I
thought that was incredibly cool. Basically, you load up a Linux CD, so no matter what OS they were running, not only can you pull the data off of it, but you can actually use it to analyze the data right there, pull out specific registry keys right there, or modify the existing registry keys on the system. So if you have like a Windows machine that for some reason isn't booting because of strange registry settings, you can just hop in there, use this, modify the registry settings, and away you go, assuming you know what you're doing and are a computer forensics science guy.
And I'll put a link in the chat room. Some people in the chat room are comparing it to Backtrack. But Backtrack this is more of an after-the-fact something has happened kind of tool, whereas Backtrack can be more of a checking to make sure something doesn't happen type of tool. Backtrack is like more of an offense, scan yourself, audit yourself, try to break your own systems, and this is more of a somebody's broken in or somebody's done something illegal. We need to go back, try to make it as, you know, like they have tools in here to do bit-by-bit drive images, so that way you can take complete snapshots before you start working on it.
Which is important if you're going to go to a court and give a case. It's basically like preserving evidence.
So this is a really cool tool.
It's kind of cool. Honestly, I don't have a need for this, so it's hard for me to review this. I looked through it and I thought, that's a really cool thing. So deftlinux.com, DEFTlinux.com, or .net, sorry, .net. Very cool looking, worth checking out.
And it's interesting too, right, that some of these smaller distros go for such a specialized
Totally.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right?
Now here's the crazy cool thing. This one is sitting at it's in the near 100 on DistroWatch. So out of the thousands of distros out there,
not bad.
It's in the top 100. Right. I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
Cheese Bacon in the chat room was saying 709 active distros listed on DistroWatch right now. So if you're in the top 100,
that's a pretty good deal.
You're a bit of a contender.
Yeah,
that's not
for
bad.
serious.
All right, B-Man, let's do the news.
What's new in the news this week?
Oh, right, Brian?
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm really excited for all the news. Just don't want to hear anything about Unity. Okay, go.
Shoot. Our top story on the news docket for this week. Unity 5.0 has been released for testing.
Yeah.
So
it actually looks kind of nice. I mean, they did an okay job. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Big fat disclaimer, you have to be running the absolute bleeding edge Ubuntu release 12.04.
No, you don't.
What?
It just doesn't work quite right otherwise.
But it
doesn't work quite right anyway.
If you want their handy dandy easy PPA.
Oh yeah, well if you want to use the PPA, but so okay. All right. So here's the thing though, a lot of stuff doesn't work. Oh, like a lot of the lenses don't really work quite right yet.
Oh, don't give me. Hold on, we'll save the lenses for its own discussion. I got a thing in here just for lenses.
Okay.
But one of the big improvements they're making, by the way, this video here is from OMG Ubuntu. One of the big improvements they're making is, the menu bar area where you'd have like your file and edit.
Yep.
That will no longer disappear, like it has been.
Yeah.
Except for after a certain user configurable period of time.
Oh, that's better.
Huge for me because I hated that. So
that's annoying.
I'm really excited about that. Also, overall, just across the board, a lot more customization options are coming because of the Compiz config settings manager, which is now being tweaked to support Unity options. So Unity in this 5.0 release is taking a major leap towards customization.
I like it.
I like that a lot.
Holy moly. Look at that color.
Yeah, dude, you can change colors.
Change all the color of the background of your Unity launcher thingy.
So there's this, but this, funny enough, isn't exactly what got me excited about Unity. What's getting me excited about Unity are these Unity lenses.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything about these?
No, dive in.
All right, so Unity lenses are different ways to sort of take the Ubuntu launcher menu and focus it in on areas of content. It could be files, it could be websites, it could be email, whatever you want, photos, and then you can apply these different lenses to it and then just filter by those. Well, there's a set of 5 lenses you can get out for this new version of Unity already. And some of them are cool, like, search your contacts.
Yeah,
and
check your email, things like that.
Books, Google Book Search is kind of neat. You type in Carl Sagan.
Yeah, that's all right.
This one I like. Reddit built right into the Unity menu. You just click Unity, you click the Reddit lens, and then boom, there's the Reddit stories right in the menu. I didn't load my web browser or nothing. All it takes is a little HTML and JavaScript for these lenses to work. I
mean, pretty much what they are, exactly. It's just like little kind of iffy websites that are just embedded into Unity there.
How does that not seem really awesome to you, though? Like, it also built-in music? Built-in, I mean, how does that, that's...
It's okay. See, that's the thing is I'm not really all of my stuff in one spot kind of guy.
I'm not either.
I don't really dig that. Like, it's fine. I don't dislike it, and it being in there, I think is a good thing. I'm just not going to use it like that. I'm going to load up a web browser. I'm going to load up my music player. I'm going to load up my ebook management software. I'm going to load up those all separately because they're all custom tailored to do it. The thing with Unity is the general look and feel for everything is going to be kind of the same. You're going to get this funky kind of horizontal, 2x3, 3x3 sort of grid of items, regardless of the type of content. So whether it's a video, a piece of text, a piece of information from the web. So it's kind of useful for getting snippets, but you're not going to see full instant messages because there's not enough space. You're not going to get the full just your email. You're just going to get the header. You're just going to get the subject line, and even that might get cut off. I don't use my system like that.
I think I like it because I'm right. I mean, I agree with you. You're right, Brian. And also, if you just look at the genesis of Unix and Linux system, it's a lot of little independent utilities working together. It's not one big, integrated conglomerate. And so that's sort of just the core of some of the Unix philosophy there. But what I do like is how it does give me a little more information at a quick glance. Like, for example,
that is nice.
Searching the email, usually by the subject line and the first sentence.
If you even want to read it.
Yeah. And being able to just because, you hit the super key and it brings up a Unity launcher. So they'll be able to go Unity key, arrow key, there's Reddit headlines.
That's a great point, because I mean a good example would be I hit the Unity button, I see the email thing, and there's 5 emails that with the word correction in it, or you were wrong about ... I ignore all those, and then the part that starts with huge fan, I read that one.
Right, yeah, and then if you need to load up Thunderbird or not.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. I'll tell you, it's a risky play. But we're going to talk about a little bit more about Canonical at CES and maybe how Unity plays into this. But you're starting to see Unity is going to become a huge differentiator for Ubuntu, which is going to give them a big competitive edge if they pull it off right, and it gives them a platform for multiple form factors.
It's quality. I think what they're doing is great. It's not necessarily meant for me for my desktop usage. I think for my other usage, for maybe in the mobile space or the tablet space or the TV space, I totally am on board with how they're doing it for Unity.
Yeah.
For desktop, I'm used to using different apps.
Yeah.
That's my thing. So I don't care.
Yeah. So I'll put a link if you want to try out the new version of Unity and you want to try out these lenses. I'll put a link in there. I tried the alpha CD and also the daily CD on 2 different rigs, a desktop and a laptop.
Don't do the daily, man.
It was
the daily will get you.
The daily couldn't get past my ATI card.
Dude, it's the daily.
And then the alpha ISO both systems, when it went to write the master boot record, it bombed.
See, the alpha worked pretty good for me. The daily though, the daily took a big old audible fart all over my desk. But it's a daily. That's what dailies are supposed to do.
I find it interesting that I am getting more excited about a release of Unity. I mean, wait, I should back up. I'm getting excited about a release of Unity. I mean, that's what?
Well, this is it. This was, I mean, we talked about this last year when Unity first hit. Is this release coming up is make or break time.
I agree.
Because this is the long-term support release. This is the release that people are going to judge Ubuntu by for the next 2 years.
And it's the long-term support one, so you got to get it right because it's going to be around. Yeah,
exactly.
But early buzz is good, so we'll see. As soon as I can get it working reliably, I'm going to put it on my main rig and I'm going to try to live in it, because one of the problems I always had with the reviews is the first half, at least first 80% sometimes for the first time I used Unity, was me struggling to deal with Unity, and it was hard to review the rest of the distro. So now I'm going to get into it early. I'm going to go from Mate, because honestly I've been having more and more problems with Mate, and I'm going to try Unity. I need somewhere to live, and so I'm going to give it a shot.
Okay.
All right, B-Man. Just a fun headline. It's just an attention grabber, but the next story on the news docket: Linux kernel exceeds 15 million lines of code.
And millions of lines of code.
Yeah. So this will be at the 3.3 release will actually be what this is based on. And it'll be the first release to include 50 million lines of code. Now, just a note,
so much code.
That also includes the comments, blank lines, documentation, scripts, and userland tools that are included with the kernel.
Yeah. It's just a real quick line count.
3/4 of these lines, though, are drivers, file system, and architecture-specific code.
Well, which is a lot of what's important anyway.
Well, but also, interestingly enough, probably, I mean, the bulk of what's been added to Linux for a long time now has been that kind of stuff. So that makes sense. Anyways,
that's a lot of code.
Did you have any take on that in terms of like the scope of what that must be?
It's a lot of code.
Yeah.
It's a lot of code. That's a big damn project is what it's called.
Yeah, I really didn't have much more other than that. Also, if you're not following Linus Torvalds on Google+, it's just brilliant. Like the other day he posted, he was bitching about like having to check in some changes and stuff like that and how people weren't submitting them correctly. I mean, following Linus on Google+ and just seeing him complain about the Linux kernel is such a treat.
I like it when he complains.
I know, it's so great. Yeah. So you got to go search for Linus Torvalds, and Brian and I are on there too, so follow us while you're doing that as well, over on Google+. All right, B-Man, the next story has got people pretty worked up on Reddit, although I'm not seeing a ton of mainstream coverage this week.
No.
But it's official.
It'll ramp up.
Windows 8 hardware specs for ARM device manufacturers require that the bootloader be locked and alternative operating systems are not to be installed as part of the OEM hardware agreement. If you're going to buy a Windows 8 license, you have to lock the bootloader. This is official. It's out now. You can go see the docs. If you follow the license agreement, in order to legally install a computer with an ARM processor with Windows 8, you must have custom bootloaders.
As an OEM.
Yeah. Microsoft is demanding that every ARM-based computer that ships with Windows 8 be locked down. Microsoft's argument is that the goal of these new requirements is to give users the best and most secure experience possible.
I have some things to say.
I thought you might.
First, who gives a flying rat's ass about Windows 8?
Well, okay.
Here's the thing. Original equipment manufacturers out there. I'm talking to all of you. Everyone from Asus to Toshiba to Lenovo and onward. If you're going to ship an ARM-based device, why on God's green earth would you even think about putting Windows 8 on there? And here's why it would be stupid. Windows 8 gets you nothing.
I know, right?
Think about this logically. What do you get? You get less functionality. You get a web browser. You literally get web applications.
Right.
Then why not use a really stupid other OS like the Chrome OS? Why not go pick up something like the Chromebook that also is just a stupid damned web browser running stupid web apps?
It's going to have to flop, right? Because what makes Windows win is the Windows ecosystem.
Is the Windows apps.
But those are all x86 apps.
Right.
So they're not going to be available for ARM.
No.
I don't see the strategy
Now,
here.
Microsoft could have gotten around all this problem. They could have an ARM-based solution where the majority of Windows apps run great on ARM-based processors. However, they threw that out when they ditched .NET.
Oh, right, I know,
because .NET is a virtual machine, and it would have worked. It would have been available. But they pretty much killed that off because they were being retarded.
What a bunch of dopes.
So now, here's the thing that pisses me off. Now they have the balls to stand up and say, you know what? If you go ahead and want Windows 8 shipping on your original equipment, you have to lock it in for one OS only. That is just plain ballsy and stupid. Now, about 10, 12, 13 years ago now, there was a big thing going on between Microsoft and Intel to do exactly this sort of thing on Intel processors.
With the TCPM chip?
The Itanium and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, or pre-Itanium. But yeah. But it was...
It was back Gates' big trusted...
98, 99.
Trusted computing?
The Trusted Computing Initiative.
Right.
Now, and the same thing was going on back then, and it failed. It failed miserably because every OEM was like, no? And then it went away.
Can I take the flip side here?
Yeah.
If you look at Windows Phone 7, where Microsoft is the underdog, and they're trying to compete, recently they have on occasion gone with the good guy route. Like they have a full-on app that they brought in hackers to work with, so that way you can unlock and root, I think that's the equivalent of it, Windows Phone 7.
Right.
Maybe Microsoft might do the same thing here.
But that's the thing. It isn't necessary to do here. So why?
Right. I know.
So basically, they would be creating the scenario in which unlocking becomes necessary and then inviting people to unlock? Who the hell would do that? That doesn't make any sense.
And why is it always claimed, like they say right here, they claim, it's to make the most secure experience possible. Are they worried, like, are bootloader Trojans like that, is hacking people's bootloaders with messed up code that common?
No. I
mean, I've heard of like viruses reinstalling themselves and things like that, but it just seems like you're not fixing
bootstrapping.
You're not
themselves.
fixing.
That's different than a bootloader.
You're not fixing the problem. You're just band-aiding it with some sort of workaround that all it will take is for the virus people to figure out how to do that same unlocking technique and unlock it and infect it.
Yeah.
I mean, all this will end up doing in the end is creating one more step for malware authors.
But here's the thing. Now, we talked when Windows Vista came out. We made a big deal on this show, like, the backlash against Vista is so everyone hates Vista. This is a great opportunity for Linux, and we in the Linux world, and this is all of us. We really didn't do a great job of taking advantage of the moment. We didn't do a great job of going to the people and saying, you know what? We actually have something that's pretty badass right now, and we know you guys hate Vista. Come over and try this. We missed that opportunity. Now, then Windows 7 came along. Good press. We didn't really have an opportunity there.
Yeah.
We have that opportunity again. And here's the thing. We are an OS that's not getting rid of native applications. And I know that seems ridiculous to be the weird one that's keeping native applications.
iOS is native.
No.
But it's so closed off.
It's totally closed off.
The big thing is native applications.
And you don't have a computer
on an open system.
There's no computer. You have a toy.
Yeah.
And iOS runs on toys, tablets, and
they
don't even have an appliance. An appliance is a refrigerator. Appliance is a damn toaster running iOS. They have little tablets and little phones. I mean, like,
you know what? Good point. They're not freaking appliances, and I don't like that we call them appliances.
They're not appliances.
They're not appliances. They are computers that are locked down.
They're locked down little portable toys, and they're cool toys. Don't get me wrong. I love toys.
Yeah.
And to me, toys are almost more important than computers half the time. But they're just toys. There's the thing. So like. So if Windows 8 comes along, and Windows is the winner. I mean, as much as everyone's like, oh, Apple and iOS. Oh, come on. No, really, Windows is king among all operating systems. They just are. Still. And they're probably going to be.
For this generation of hardware, yeah.
Windows 8 rolls out. They're giving an opportunity for all of the developers out there to start building really cross-platform web apps. Because that's the only way to really build Windows 8 apps, which means we in the Linux side of things can come along and say, here, you can have your native apps and probably most of those web apps that you can have in Windows 8 too. And we don't care if you run this distro or that distro or load Windows 8 on there after the fact because we don't lock anything down. So it's no big whoop because we like you. And we really, here's puppies and a basket of flowers.
I mean, it could be, you could have just nailed it there. Microsoft could be sort of guaranteeing their own irrelevancy by making it more platform agnostic to run applications. Then you have, and I'll save 90% I'm about to say for the CES coverage we're having in the second half, but then you have Ubuntu and Canonical out there saying, look, here's a pretty presentation. We already work on ARM. We've got a proven track record of power management on ARM. And by the way, you can run these applications. And our entire platform is super portable to recompile your apps, even if they are x86. Oh, and by the way, we can also do that JavaScript, HTML stuff.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I mean,
you nailed it. That's exactly it.
And the other thing is they're not Google and they're not Apple, right? So that's a really good spot for them. But we'll talk about more in that.
We'll talk more. Yeah.
Because we got one more story in the news docket, B-Man, and that is to our BSD brothers out there. PC BSD 9.0 is released, and this is really, I mean, this is like the if you want to grok anything about this, just pretend like it's like a Linux distro for FreeBSD in a sense. The guy packages up, a team now packages up FreeBSD with a great KDE desktop and their PBI system, which is we talked about before. I'll tell you some of the new improvements about PCBSD 9.0, other than the fact that it's based on FreeBSD 9, totally new release, ton of new stuff. Which, by the way, I think next week we'll have Alan back on the show to review FreeBSD 9.0.
That's good, because we are slightly BSD retarded. Like, I think both Chris and I like BSD. Huge amount of healthy respect for FreeBSD and PCBSD. Don't run it. I couldn't tell you in detail why it's great.
FreeBSD is a great example of another free operating system that is awesome, that has proven itself, and is completely developed by a totally separate mindset and methodology and community.
Yeah.
And so it is really an awesome resource to look at FreeBSD with Linux goggles.
Totally.
So
what I love about throwing on like PCBSD, their package management, by the way, is just glorious. PBI system is amazing.
It's awesome.
But outside of that, you get to run all the software you're used to. You get to run, a sort of desktop that you're used to. You get to throw on XFCE. You get to throw on something you like and you're comfortable with to try out what's different, which is really not that big of a jump. So it's nice to jump back and forth for a Linux guy.
Yeah. So I'll just quick couple of new features. They've improved the PBI system. One of the things they're doing now is just diff updating for the apps. So you don't have to download the whole app.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
They're also including in the PCBSD installer, our main updater thing. You can now update all your FreeBSD system files.
Yep.
They have a life preserver tool that they've improved that is an rsync backup tool. And then the other thing is, if you just want to check it out, they're now including pre-bundled all together VirtualBox and VMware images with all of the tools installed and all that if you just want to kick the tires. So, I mean, I think the big news here is based on BSD 9.0, FreeBSD 9.0, but
that looks cool.
We've met the guy who runs this at Linux Fest.
Yeah. Cool dude.
Very cool.
Cool dude.
So,
always gives away little devil, I want to call them devil antlers, but they're not hats.
Not horns, are they? Are they kind of like, they're kind of like horns, I guess.
I don't know, like hairband things.
They're like bunny ears, but horns.
Bunny ears, but horns.
Yeah,
they're great.
And anyways, so since you got those VirtualBox images, I encourage you guys to go check it out, because if we do get Alan on the show next week, we'll be talking about all kinds of FreeBSD stuff, and you can follow along.
You know, I realize
what
all these years we've spent playing around with tech toys, playing around with Linux, learning development languages, has pushed out the words for things so as simple as the thing that goes on your head.
Yeah, you got to make room.
That's not a hat. Like it's not, that word's not in there anymore.
You got to make room,
I
man.
know when I was a kid, I knew like a tiara. The chat room's like, it's like a tiara. It's kind of like a tiara, except it's sticky uppy downy.
Yeah.
I don't even know the right way to describe it.
Yeah.
That's how real world retarded I am becoming.
You just had to file it away in the long-term memory, which is just not, it's like offline storage.
You know, we're going to have to learn these words because we have daughters.
Yeah.
And they're going to want to buy the things that go up and down and sticky yawning on top of the head on the hair.
Maybe we just say, look, don't talk to us about anything that's not Linux related.
See, here's the thing. The chat room doesn't even know what we're talking about. The chat room's like, a crown?
Yeah, I know.
No, not a crown. The thingy, the sticky uppy downy on the head with the horns.
I want to give two quick mentions before we wrap up the news. Is one, you got to go over to...
No, it's not a helmet. It's a different thing.
You could get a helmet with the horns.
I guess you could. All right, continue.
LinuxActionShow.reddit.com is our awesome subreddit. And I mean this. I mean, this is one of the greatest subreddits on Reddit. There is stuff that gets posted in here that doesn't get posted anywhere else, or before it gets posted anywhere. Plus, if you go there, you can submit a link, makes it in the show. You can do app suggestions. You can do Android picks if you're a dev and you want to get attention for something. Or just go there and vote stuff up.
Seriously, yeah. If you want to see stuff happen in the show and talked about in the show, this is the place to do it. And what's great is, if you already subscribe to like the Linux subreddit, news hits the Linux Action Show subreddit way before it hits the Linux subreddit.
Doesn't it? I mean,
it's crazy. And what's nuts is someone will post it to the Linux Action Show subreddit. It'll get voted up and we'll have a great discussion about it. And then someone a half a day later will post it to Linux and then it'll make the front page.
I know.
I don't understand. Go over to the Linux Action Show subreddit. Yeah. It's where all the happening stuff is.
One last mention is to our buddy Alan and his company ScaleEngine.com. He is providing the flash-free live stream that you can watch over at jblive.tv.
That's awesome.
And there's little links in there to load it up in VLC or Totem or on your Android phone or your iPhone. And you can watch this show live. We do it Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific over at jblive.tv, and it's powered by ScaleEngine. And when you go over to ScaleEngine.com, he's got little examples of the live stream going of TechSnap 24/7.
Look, you guys being adorable.
Isn't that cute?
You guys are adorable.
He built that right in there, and that's powered by his, he's working on a sort of like an offline playlist, so even when you're not live streaming, you can still stream.
That's great.
And so that's over at ScaleEngine.com. All kinds of great hosting. He also hosts the Jupiter Broadcasting website, which is fantastic.
I love that.
All right, B-Man. Well, that's all the news for this week.
All right, so this last week was the Consumer Electronics Entertainment Computer Expo of the world down in Las Vegas.
Buy things.
And the
Buy Things Expo.
the everything is electronic. Please buy it. Please Expo.
Isn't consumerism amazing, Expo?
That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Everyone's covering this, and everyone's talking about it because it's an expo. So you better. And
but who's doing the Linux angle on this?
But we need to do Linux angle. There's been a few sites that have said, hey, Linux had a good showing this year.
Yeah.
But you know what? Let's really dive into what exactly we saw from Linux and the best of Linux at CES this year.
So we've made our picks that we're covering. I think first, PC World is one of the mainstream publications to actually give the Linux coverage a little bit of a spin.
Yeah.
And their picks are, and we're going to talk more about some of these, is number one is Ubuntu TV. And it was funny because it was a rumor last week on the show.
Yeah.
So that was fun to see that one play out.
Yeah.
Do you think we were kind of a little more skeptical on that one, weren't we?
Okay, now wait. I want to be clear about my... If you go back to last week, I made a prediction about Linux on TVs. We talked both about Ubuntu going on to TVs, and we talked about Google TV.
Yeah.
Now, I full-on poo-pooed the Google TV thing. I said it's going to fail, it's going to flop, it's going to flounder. And I said that Ubuntu's going to do it because they're going to do it, but...
Actually, and I believe I said Ubuntu's going to be there, but they won't announce any shipping devices yet, which is very true.
And I agreed with you on that one. Yeah.
All right. So
but they kind of came out strong, though.
They did, and so PC World gave them the #1 slot, and we're going to talk more about that. That definitely deserves some discussion. Another device that I was fascinated by because it reminded me of that little tablet that we had on the show a long time ago.
Yeah.
The Kook, Qooq.
The Kook.
Do you suppose that's how it's pronounced?
It's got to be the Kook. I love
Anyways,
it. It's a good name.
It is like it's designed for the kitchen. Their whole site includes this whole service with recipes.
It's a lot like a touchbook version or a touchscreen version of the Little, which was kind of a real appliance. It was basically this netbook that can turn into an easel that had a little roller wheel on it. And the Little was very cool. This little Linux-powered, GTK2 powered, awesome device.
Yeah.
And the Kook looks like that, except a little more modern, space-age looking and touchscreen.
Yeah, it's got 1 gigahertz ARM processor in it. It's going to have a bunch of videos.
Nice.
I mean, it's really meant for the kitchen. It's ruggedized
cool
and stuff. Now, here's the one that I think could be pretty exciting, and that is Lenovo's new laptop, the X1 Hybrid, because it's like Linux getting it's like Linux getting its foot in the door. This isn't just like one of those deals where you can like choose to boot up into the multimedia operating system or Windows. You actually launch Linux from inside Windows. It goes in, it shuts, it sleeps and suspends Windows, launches Linux on an ARM processor that's included in the laptop, and you get like massively more battery life from that. What do you think of that?
I don't understand it. Like, I get how it works, and I think it's cool. I like seeing Linux on everything, but like, I can't see the real world scenario where I actually want to go back and forth like that. Like, I just want it to run an OS. Like, let's just run Linux.
I hear you.
Like, and maybe ship Linux with Wine installed so I can run those Windows apps anyway.
You know what
and then I'll just get really good battery life anyway.
What I'm kind of bummed about a little bit
understand.
is they're doing a customized UI too.
Yeah, see, I just never got into that. It's like the original EEE netbooks that had that kind of customized launcher UI. Didn't like it. First thing we did, figure out how to disable that and go back to standard KDE. And when I look at this, when I look at this, that's what it makes me think too.
I know. But at the same time, is it... Okay, the climate's changed though. See, before it was more about, like, I always pictured the airplane commuter who needed that extra battery life and he just wanted to do email, and that's what that Linux partition was for.
Okay, I get that.
So what I see this now as is maybe a foot in the door saying, here's what you can do in Linux. You don't have to abandon Windows. All this stuff works in ARM. Maybe somebody could take that, like Lenovo could take that a year from now and be, okay, here's all the Lenovo tablets. They run that same Linux UI you're familiar with. Now you have it, and people will just sort of make this seamless transition because they're comfortable with it from their Lenovo laptops already. And people will be able to see I can still do all of my stuff because everything's going web-based, everything's becoming HTML5e. Maybe this lets Lenovo ship a totally Linux-based device a year from now with consumer acceptance.
See, I don't know why they couldn't just come out and do that. Like, I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with you. I just think from a strategy point of view, I'd rather come out and just say, screw all that wishy-washiness. Linux is badass.
Throw
and
the
here to
wang on the
stay.
table.
I'm here. bam, I'm done. Look at all these cool apps. You know what?
Yeah.
You can get the better battery life. You get more whiz-bang look and feel. You're not running stupid Windows 8 only HTML apps. You're running whatever the hell you want. Boom, Linux, awesome. Cool commercials, all the apps. I look at this and I think, great. So they're going to have watered down versions of a few apps, probably running full screen or something.
And that's what
I just don't care about that.
That's what the chat room is saying. Is like, is this a watered down version of Linux? Is it more limited? Could it actually hurt Linux if it's more limited?
Right.
I don't know
Does
yet.
that give people the wrong impression about what Linux is?
Like it's less capable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That is a concern. That's like I see this as two different possible paths it could go down. I'm hoping it goes down the more positive one.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think the appropriate strategy here is just just do it. And if you can build a whole ARM system inside a laptop like this, then you probably could have made this laptop many hundreds of dollars cheaper with just those components.
Yes.
And that would have been awesome.
Way awesome.
Maybe somebody will do it.
See, and this is what one of our predictions last year and this year is. We want to see a big fleet of ARM-based crazy battery life laptops running Linux.
Though
that's what I want.
You got to figure. I mean, I don't know if it's a totally separate like system on a chip with its own GPU and all that stuff, or if it still uses like the Wi-Fi chip from the laptop.
It's got to use the Wi-Fi chip in the laptop.
So if it does, then there's probably a great chance that any distro you throw on that thing is going to run great with the hardware.
That's true.
So it could mean for us Linux buyers, we just get it and wipe it. Who cares about that stupid alternative spot? And then we'll just load any distro we want, and it runs great.
To be fair, though, I don't have very many problems with that anymore.
Yeah.
Most laptops, desktops I put together run just diggity dandy.
I didn't
out of the
either
box
until
Linux.
I tried to load the new alpha.
Well, don't run the dailies, man.
I know.
Daily builds this early in the game. You're talking crazy.
That's how
crazy talk.
All right, so it's time to talk about Canonical. I mean,
you can't get around it. They had a big showing.
I mean, not only did they have a big showing just for the Linux community, they actually just ranked as one of the companies there that people were talking about, like along with like all of the other big names in the industry. Huge win for Canonical.
Huge win.
And this is their first CES.
Dude, they did it right, man.
Yeah.
They rolled into CES and did it right. Huge kudos to those boys and girls. They did an amazing job.
They gave out all of like the little things that they brought to hand out, like like all of their.
They ran out of their CDs.
Yeah, their CDs.
They brought live CDs
and
galore. They had a big old booth. It looked great. It was very orange, but hey, Ubuntu's orange. That's their colors.
A big Ubuntu logo up there.
They did it right.
So that's awesome.
And they got a lot of attention. And here's the thing. And you mentioned this a little bit, and this is true, and this is what excites me. Is Ubuntu is now a brand where when they come out and say we're going to do something with the TV, literally, did they ship a device? No. Did they actually ship the software? Well, not really. No. You can kind of get some PPAs to get some lenses, but they're not fully done yet. They're kind of a work in progress. And so they didn't really ship anything. They just demoed, really, is all they did.
Yeah.
A lot of companies went to CES and demoed stuff really similar to this. A lot of them did. There's a lot of TV stuff going on. And yet, everyone's like, whoa, wait, what was Ubuntu saying?
So,
well, let's go and talk to them because they're a brand. They're like the Apple or the Microsoft now, where they get attention because they're doing a thing. And that's so awesome.
The Verge, great coverage on the Ubuntu stuff. They had not only a write-up that gives you a walkthrough of Ubuntu TV, that gives you a little description and a video.
Yeah.
Then they also had an interview with the guy from Canonical who's heading up the Ubuntu TV project.
Yep.
I watched that. It's about 13 minutes long. Link in the show notes. I'll tell you, though, a couple of key things I pulled out of it. The customer in this case for Ubuntu TV is the manufacturer, not the end user.
Right.
So people might not want to get their hopes up too much. I don't know if this is going to be an ISO you guys are going to be able to download. The other thing they're working on, and this I think is the bigger play, is they acknowledge that in order to compete in the TV space, they need to have a content library.
Yeah.
Canonical is working on a strategy here to make so they already have the online music store with Ubuntu One. They are working on adding, according to this interview, a video store. And this video store will be accessible on any device that can run Ubuntu One. So Linux desktop, Android devices.
That's the way to go.
These Ubuntu TVs. You buy a movie and it's available across all of these devices. I mean, huge strategy there. They're offering a much more open and less evil approach to essentially what the iPhone ecosystem is.
Yeah.
And they're going to have it across TVs. They're going to have it across mobile devices. They're going to have it across desktops. And this is a huge part of that strategy. And the other thing Canonical said, which I thought was pretty telling, is they are selling themselves. They are telling device manufacturers, we will be the flexible partner. We won't strong arm you. We're not so big that we'll just mandate how you do things. We will come to you. We will. Now, this makes me worried. We will modify and customize if you want. We won't push you to do certain things. We just want you to take our open platform, pay us for it, and there you go. Now you can build your device. And what they're saying is because they're not Google, because they're not Apple, that people are a little more comfortable with betting the house on them.
Yeah.
Like, look what happened to Logitech when they bet the house on the Google
TV. They just got screwed.
And then they came out and said that was a huge mistake, right?
Yeah, why would we ever use Google services for a TV?
They were
a dumb idea. Anyone who does that in 2012 will fail.
Well,
I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Yeah,
I'm combining that with a little bit of what I said.
They didn't. The chat room's asking like if they said anything about the DRM that will be in the videos. They haven't talked about any of that stuff.
Talked about that.
I know their music library is MP3, right? So
yeah. Yeah, no DRM'd MP3.
So what do you think, man? Are you a believer? Could Ubuntu TV be a big thing?
No, it's not a matter of being a believer or not. It's just the right strategy.
Yeah.
Like if Canonical comes along and they can get this on a couple of set-top boxes or a couple of TVs, the great thing is even if they have to customize it for Samsung or Logitech or Sony, it's still Ubuntu, guys. We're still running a Debian-based Linux distribution on our TV.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's awesome.
Think about this for a second here. We kind of harped on TiVo. Like as a community, we're like, man, TiVo, you're not releasing enough code. You're buttoning things down with DRM. We can't modify our system. I want to modify our system. Well, if you've got an Ubuntu-based system, if you've got a Debian-based distro, how can you not find a way to modify it? I mean, maybe the TV manufacturers won't support it. Maybe they won't want you to. But as from a nerd tinkerer standpoint, I don't see how you're not going to be able to hop in there and update the lenses or change the theme.
Oh my God.
I don't see how you're not going to be able to accomplish that somehow.
Lenses on your TV, like I could have like a kids movies lens.
Yes.
Oh, that could be really cool.
See, that's
action movie lens.
It's a great way to go. It makes a lot of sense. I like this approach a lot more than the other approaches.
Me too.
And as a manufacturer, if I were a manufacturer, this would excite me simply because if Canonical goes tits up, I still got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's open.
Are you like, here's a great screenshot if you're watching the video version of the Unity volume indicator and the Wi-Fi indicator and the clock all actually surprisingly working well in this factor. Like when they've modified Unity to work better for video, and they've added some nice multimedia fast forwarding capabilities, and they've added like the TV guide to the launcher, which is kind of cool. I'm really kind of impressed with how well Unity does seem to be a functional option for a TV interface, you know, for that 10-foot interface as they call it or whatever.
It actually looks really good.
Yeah.
The TV guide look they've got going on, I'm like, oh, that's totally classy. That's nice. That's nicer than most of the TV guides I see. I mean, it's not like it's groundbreaking. I mean, it's not like no one's ever made a grid TV guide look before, but they did a nice job of it.
So
it looks better than the Apple TV. It looks better than the Google TV.
Yeah.
They have a better look and feel than the people who are the theoretical big dogs. So they have open. They have cheaper. They have a company who's willing to bend over backwards for them. They have a better look and feel. They probably have lower system requirements because, well, Google TV requires a gigantic Java runtime, and Apple's a dick and isn't gonna license anything to anyone anyway.
You know, they're gonna use.
This is great.
It looks like they're gonna use Atom processors.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because that would probably make, like what you're saying, the modding thing a much more approachable thing.
Totally.
My Kuro has a Linux PC in it, so that's like a 3-year-old TV now, and so they've already been shipping TVs with computers in them. They just are exposed to the end user at this point. This is just sort of bringing them one step closer. And you think about how big these TVs are, you could find a little room in there for a little Atom motherboard.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
cool, right?
Very cool. Curious
come on. I mean, really? I mean, you stick in something like basically like the Raspberry Pi PC, you know, a little itty bitty dealy thing that's only going to cost a couple of bucks. Ubuntu already runs great on that. They've even demoed those little Raspberry Pis running 1080p video, playing back fully and smoothly. Throw Ubuntu with Unity and the Ubuntu TV on there, stick it inside of a TV. You're talking a couple of $1 investment, very little R&D for the TV guys because they don't have to build their own system on a chip. That's pretty fancy.
Doing this, though, puts Canonical directly in competition with Google.
No, it doesn't.
The Google TV.
It's the exact opposite.
It had a big showing there.
Doing this puts Google and Apple in competition with Ubuntu and Canonical.
Yeah, because they have the more...
because they have already failed. Here's the thing. Apple TV came out with Apple TV.
I was going to say they have a more manufacturer-friendly approach.
How many people do you know that are like, man, the Apple TV is the best device ever and I do 100% of my TV watching?
I don't even know anybody that has an Apple TV.
Right. Same with Google TV. Nobody wants it. So Google and Apple have already had a product out for 1 year plus, both of them.
Yeah.
And have both failed repeatedly in that market.
That's true.
Ubuntu shows up, gets a ton of press, has a better looking offering.
Yeah.
They are in competition with
But
Canonical.
here's the difference. Google TV is shipping on TVs in this
Soon.
next quarter.
Theoretically.
And they've got apps now. Like they've got the Plex app, which would be really awesome. And they've
That would be cool.
They've got HBO Go app on there. And they've got,
Sure.
they've got an active Android marketplace. The UI, in my opinion, is nothing compared to Unity's UI and all of that stuff, but we'll see, right? I'm not even convinced that the built-in to the TV approach is the right approach.
I'm not either.
I just would prefer to have a great dumb display.
I like a dumb display and then maybe buy a little Roku put next to it because like I've got a really nice TV. I mean, it's not like a big $1 billion TV or anything, but it works just fine. I would rather, when I want new power, go out and buy a new $90 device, put it right next to it, and bam, I have all new power in my TV.
Exactly. You don't want to... It's like they're trying to push consumers to upgrade their TVs every 2 years, and I grew up in a world where my family had one TV for most of my life until like towards the end of my teenage.
Right, until they started the constant upgrading of TV thing.
Yeah. So I'm not convinced that the public at large is ready to go into this up. Hey, TV is a large purchase.
Large purchase.
So we'll see. We'll see where that goes.
But anyway, I'm hugely stoked about what Ubuntu's doing. I don't know if I'm going to end up using it on my home system or my home TV. I'll wait and see what they come out with.
I would definitely give it a shot if they
but
let.
That's it. I
let
would
me
give it a
download
shot.
it. Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about something that's kind of interesting. Marvell, who it mostly is just makes the back end hardware, like Wi-Fi chips and ARM processors and stuff. They don't generally ship hardware themselves directly. So I thought this is kind of an interesting little note. It's a Marvell introduces
Look at that thing.
I know, right? It's got these great little LED smiley face on there. The tiny simple plug is a classroom
Smile
server.
plug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A smile plug is a classroom server that is, they picture the use case scenario like this. You got a classroom maybe that is a little disadvantaged. So they don't have a lot of computers and networking set up. You take this guy, it's about the size of a wall wart. You plug it in. It starts up a mesh Wi-Fi network so that all of the machines there can join that. So picture
cool.
like the one laptop per child machines or something like that.
I love that.
And then it also provides file sharing services so they can all collaborate. There's a little web server on there, and you can add software functionality to it. This little thing is
That's cool.
They're calling it perfect for the classroom. Now, here's some of the details. It's got an ARM processor in it, obviously, because it's Marvell, and it's got a Marvell Wi-Fi chip in it as well. It has USB 2.0 ports. It's got 802.11n on it, and
I love the little frowny face.
I know, and the frowny face, it's designed to make it really easy. Perfect is when something's wrong, it has a red frown, and when something's good, it has a green frown.
A green smiley face, yeah. I love it.
I always have a soft spot for Linux getting used in classrooms.
Totally, and I love mesh wireless networking stuff. That makes a huge, honestly, it just makes a ton of sense, especially for low-income areas without a lot of internet access. You just distribute, a half dozen of those things throughout a school. Get a couple of those little one laptop per child, the old laptops plus some of the new tablets coming. Oh, rock and roll.
And you get,
that's so cool.
You get, at the end of the day, the teacher just takes the little machine and everybody's work is on there because when it creates the Wi-Fi network, it gives them a file server storage too. Yeah. So the teacher just takes that little plug and says, all right, well, there you go. Now, did you know that that apparently Slashdot was at CES this year? I didn't know that.
Honestly, I didn't know people use Slashdot stuff.
No, I didn't either. But they're covering a story here that but their Flash player sucks. Look at the way it's making my browser go.
Man,
anyways,
I tell you, the last time we had a story on the front page of Slashdot, I think we got about 1,000 hits on it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
The time before that, maybe about 1,200 hits.
Yeah.
Last time I got a story on like the front page of Reddit, I got about 40,000 hits off of it. I mean, even Dig that no one uses gets more traffic than Slashdot now. It makes me sad.
They still have good stories.
Slashdot used to be, such a king of traffic. They used to Slashdot servers.
That's where the whole thing came from.
Now I get a bunch of traffic from Slashdot. I have to scroll down. I'm like, here's the top 10 pieces of traffic. See more. Oh, look at 39. Something from Slashdot front page. I mean, it's just like, Slashdot. Come on, guys.
So this is one of the few hardware picks that I have that came out of CES. This is the MakerBot Replicator. It's a new version of the MakerBot, which is a 3D printer. And what's awesome about it is it runs, the controller for this thing is Linux. The file formats that this thing uses to do the printing are open file formats. Yeah. And they literally bought this thing that will print objects. Yeah. And like the guy makes a globe.
Plastic objects.
He makes a cupcake, and it won awards at CES. And
not a very tasty cupcake though.
No. But it's literally like you want a tool, it will print you a wrench.
And it can do 2 colors now.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
And the fact that it's controlled by a Linux running open source machine is
costs about $2,000.
Dude, $2,000 for your own replicator is not.
I
bad.
know, but seriously, I mean, I gotta ask this: how much time did you spend sitting there thinking about how you could possibly justify having one? I spent probably a good 2 hours just thinking, how can I justify having one of these? I have no idea.
Toilet seat covers?
That's what. Really?
Wait, or new toilet seats. You can make new toilet seats.
I hadn't even thought of toilet seats. I like that your mind immediately. Toilet seat covers.
Well, it all has to be.
I am making my own toilet seat covers.
I just figure if you're going to spend $2,000.
Oh, yeah.
You better get your money's worth.
Dude, you have parties. Everybody come on over. Put your coat right there. Now follow me.
You know,
you want to sit on this.
Maybe a
I
coat
made
hanger.
this with technology.
Most comfortable toilet seat ever. I don't know. Yeah, the chat room says toilet seat.
Toilet seat like covered in braille, so you kind of read with your hindquarters as you.
All right.
I don't know, but it's way cool.
Last.
If anyone wants to send me one of those maker bots, I will do a 3D model of your head. I don't know what
I would love to do a Linux action show.
would.
Linux logo.
So cool.
Okay.
Actually, you know what I was thinking?
What?
You get those little Raspberry Pis, then build your own cases for it in your own design, like build whatever you need, cases for it, slide those suckers on in. That's
Actually,
the one thing I was thinking.
If the Raspberry Pi really took off, you could open up like a website to sell Raspberry Pi cases.
Yeah.
That's
cool, right?
Kind of cool, yeah.
All right.
Print on demand cases. All right. One last story. There's more over on the linuxactionshow.reddit.com subreddit. I asked everybody to tag it with CS, so if you just search that for CS, you can get more stories. This one I thought is interesting because it's, I think, one of the bigger stories. Long term, we'll look back. We're not sure how Ubuntu TV is going to do. We're not sure how a lot of these things that came out at CES. But one thing I think we're going to see is if Google takes off on the Google TV, if Android takes off on Google TV, and these devices keep selling at the crazy rate they are, Android is just going to reach this mass number that developers aren't going to be able to ignore.
Yep.
The other thing that'll kick that into gear is this open mobile, which makes Android apps run on everything.
That's pretty cool.
So we've talked a little bit before about Android apps on the desktop.
And there have been many ways to accomplish that in the past.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
It's fine. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Android is just Java. There's nothing special about Android. Like I have an Android tablet now. I like it. It's good. But really, it's a device that's running Linux on the kernel, a kind of funky, slow UI, and then an Android virtual machine to run your apps. And that's cool. Because now I run a ton of Java apps. I mean, a Java virtual machine. So why not have that everywhere? Why not have that virtual machine running on everything? Because it's friggin' Java anyway.
They claim that when you're not running the app, the virtual machine in the background won't take any system resources. The other big thing that they're saying is it requires no app modification by developers.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, that's really
quite
cool.
good.
So I think you take Android on all of these different tablet devices, and you take the ability to also run Android apps on desktop machines. I mean, how as a mobile developer, could anybody start justifying ignoring Android after that?
I don't think you can.
So it could be.
So I think what happens is you have to end up using something like the Lunduke SDK or Illumination software created from RadicalBreeze.com to build your apps for all the platforms, including Android, with just one click. So then you're like, oh, I'm an iOS developer. I just make iOS apps. Oh, one click, there's an Android app. Oh, one click, there's your Python GTK app. Oh, one click, there's my Flash app. Oh, one click. Right, you know what I'm saying?
I just kind of wish.
Jump past all that.
I don't know. I just haven't yet been like.
Do you think anyone noticed my plug for there?
I don't know.
I think I snuck it in.
Noticed.
It was kind of just slipped under the radar there.
I haven't yet been convinced that I want Android apps beyond my mobile device. They just, some of them, like the ones I pick, are the kind of the cream of the crop. Like,
yeah,
for my app picks, I wade through so many crappy Android apps.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Hopefully,
there's a lot of bad stuff.
Hopefully, maybe this will bring more serious developers on board and make the bar even higher.
You know, the thing is, what I notice on Android, the apps I use the most are the apps that also have native stuff. So I can't use them with this sort of system. So like a great example would be Vendetta Online. Vendetta Online's a great game, but it uses the native development kit. No, it's the native development kit, so it actually runs native code behind the scenes. So you can actually run native code on an Android device. Same with Netflix. Netflix runs native code. It's not just Java, so it will not run in this system. So a lot of the apps I like on my Android tablet won't be available.
That's a shame, because I was thinking if they made this available for the Linux desktop, it might be a backdoor way to get Netflix on Linux.
Nope.
Took away my hope.
I don't think so anyway. I'm pretty positive Netflix uses.
I seem to recall that they needed specific support in the CPUs because they do run on
they need a bit more speed. I mean, you're not going to be able to do all the video decoding. Well, you can.
And there's
just
DRM
Java
extensions in those ARM chips that Netflix uses. So,
but I mean, maybe, you know, for some of the smaller games that don't use quite as much 3D, maybe for some of the just random apps, the cool little alarm clock app you got,
to do apps,
probably run.
To do apps and research, you know, yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's cool, but it's not that cool.
Linux made headlines, though. I think that is the overall meta story here, is Linux and Canonical in specific made great headlines. Now it's up to Canonical. Here's the thing. If Canonical doesn't prove this out, if they don't pull off the execution, will they still have buzz next year when they announce something, or will people just kind of roll their eyes? Now they're kind of in the position where, because they got the recognition at CES, because they had a good showing, now it's showtime.
No, here's the thing. I think so. And I agree that they better pull it off, because otherwise we're probably going to make fun of them. But the reality is, I mean, look at Google. Google announces a new application and a new service and a new device every other Tuesday. And they almost always get canceled. They almost always fail. Look at Android. Android did crap for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, just total balls. No one wanted an Android device. Look at the original T-Mobile G1. That thing ran terrible. Even Google was like, man, we just don't want to touch this thing.
Well,
and so you flash forward a couple years, though, things are doing good. They stuck with it. They still got a lot of buzz. I think what a Canonical is doing with Ubuntu TV and with the potentiality of having Ubuntu on a tablet, I think excites people enough that they're going to get some leeway. If they screw it up all year, they'll still have another chance next year.
Okay.
But if they do hit, because Apple and Google and all the rest of them are failing, basically with giant fail stamps on their forehead all the time.
Then they got like a rocket booster.
Then they got a rocket booster. Then they're winning big time. Yeah. They're just going to Charlie Sheen the hell out of that.
Winning!
You really didn't have to say it that loud, but I agree with what you're saying.
Winning! All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's what I'm thinking.
Hey, I got winning. That's not bad, right? No? Okay. All right. Maybe I'll let you do it since you got the torn up voice.
I'm not doing it.
Oh, okay. All right, B-Man. Well, that's the Linux Action Show's look at Linux at CES.
That's a good point. And that brings us to the end of this week's triumphant broadcast. I want to thank everyone for tuning in this week. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to remember is you're going to want to tune in next week.
Oh, yeah?
Because next week we will have what we like to call the same damn show.
Yeah.
It's just like all new news.
Yeah.
All new topic. What will we cover? Today was CES.
Yeah.
Last week was predictions.
Yeah.
What will be next
It might
week?
be, I haven't cleared it with Alan. It might be the FreeBSD 9 review.
Ooh, that could be interesting.
It could be.
It could be interesting. Will it be something else? Maybe.
Maybe.
You won't know until next week. We'll be live at 10 a.m. Pacific time, jblive.tv. Just go over to Jupiter Broadcasting. Follow us on all of our usual places, the Google Pluses and the Twitter Ises and the Facebook Ises. We're all over those.
The links are in the show
You
notes.
can find the links, and they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned this briefly, and I don't know if a lot of you guys caught this, but I make a little software.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about
Now
this.
here's the thing. I'm working on this project.
Yeah.
It's called the Lunduke SDK.
Now, this is interesting. Tell me about this, Brian.
Now, a lot of people have nicknamed it the Narcissism SDK because I like to name things after myself.
Okay.
And I want to talk to you about why I called it this. Now, the Lunduke SDK is a software development kit. Now, before you get too bored, it's a really cool software development kit. And here's why. It has a whole new programming language. And guess what I called it?
What did you call it?
I called it Lunduke.
So you got the Lunduke SDK with the Lunduke
with
language.
the Lunduke language.
Yeah.
And it has a compiler with it that I called Lunduke C, which stands for Lunduke Compiler.
Can I float an idea past you? You may have just torpedoed your SEO, because if these get bigger than you are, then when people search for you, they're not going to find you.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't really care. I really wanted a computer programming language named after myself.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's ridiculous. I know it's ridiculous.
Chat
I know there is nothing as
room,
narcissistic as this.
Chat room's giving you love. Look at that.
I mean, come on. It is absolutely asininely stupid. It'd be kind of like Mark Shuttleworth coming out, and instead of making Ubuntu, coming out with Shuttleworth OS. I mean, we would make so much fun of him for that. And you know what? Rightly so. Just like I fully earned getting made fun of, and I will get made more fun of over the years, I'm sure, for making this the Lunduke SDK, but I wanted to, no big deal. So here's the thing.
Okay.
It's a whole programming language that's super easy to learn, mega easy to learn, but it's a normal written language that's a little bit like if you took C and Basic and Smalltalk with a little Ruby and some Python and squished them together with my favorite bits and pieces of them. And it's a full-on language. You then build your apps in this language. And then you can use your compiler, the Lunduke C compiler, to build native code for Android, for iOS. I'm also building an ncurses and C one, so you can build full terminal ncurses GUI-based apps.
That is so cool.
So here's the thing. So you can build a web-based app, anything you want out of this. Now, this is an open source project. 100% GPL. There's nothing commercial, nothing proprietary. My company, Radical Breeze, is sponsoring this. We're working our highnesses off on this. And we're building it based on the technology we use to build Illumination Software Creator, our visual development suite. So basically, we hit the point with Illumination. We have all these different platforms you can build apps with. Different ways you can build platforms for. I haven't said that right one time. Different platforms you can build apps for.
Right.
Boom. Got it.
Brian, you should have just asked me. I got it.
You already knew.
Yeah.
And we you know what? We know how to do this. We've kind of perfected how to do this. So we're open sourcing the hell out of it and making it all GPL. So go to lunduke-sdk.com. If you want to get involved, we would love people to get involved. We're going to be doing a couple of code drops here soon. You can check the full language SDK and specification up there. If you have any comments on it, we'd love to hear comments. We've already added some features based on some of your guys' feedback.
Cool.
And it's getting cooler and cooler and cooler. So even if all you want to do is help out to provide new platform support, we have really easy ways to do that. So if you want to get involved to do that, here's the other thing. If you want to help support the project, buy Illumination Software Creator. It's a commercial project, I know. But if you go to radicalbreeze.com and you buy Illumination Software Creator, basically what you're doing is directly funding the developers working on the open source project full time, because that's what we're doing. Because the next version of Illumination actually sits on top of Lunduke SDK. We're rebuilding the entire Illumination Software Creator in Lunduke. So we're rewriting the whole thing. Now here's what this means. And I haven't been talking about this too much, but we have built a platform layer for Haiku, ncurses. We have an OS2 presentation manager target that we're working on for Lunduke. That means that Illumination Software Creator for visually building apps will now build and compile for all those other platforms, including web. That means that you can go to a website and run Illumination in your browser, hit a button, and build an iOS app, an Android app, a Haiku app, and ncurses platform app, anything.
You're breaking the fourth wall, Brian.
And the more platforms that you as a community add to that, the more platforms are there. It just gets it freely. So now this is a huge project, a huge undertaking that we've been working on for a long time. But go check it out at lunduke-sdk.com. This is a really, really big friggin' thing. And if you want to support it, buy Radical Breeze. I hate to plug a ton, but this is honestly, I think this is a really, really big thing. And then if people are like, you know what? I want to build in a Windows 8 application for build Metro 8 apps.
Right?
They could, and then we could convince everyone making Metro 8 apps to use Lunduke, and then bam, they have it instantly available in a ncurses terminal session in Linux, as
Brian,
a Python GTK app, as everything. Boom, right there. We don't have to care about anyone else.
Remember how Microsoft named it Metro?
Oh, you're being silly again.
I know, right? Okay.
Anyway, I'm done plugging.
Okay.
Even if you don't want to financially support the project by buying Illumination, go check out the SDK if you're interested. We would love to have your guys' involvement and your feedback. It's really important.
It's a crazy cool project.
Because we're trying to really, we've got a lot of feedback so far. We would love to get more.
Yeah.
So even if you're not a developer, we need people to do documentation. We need people just to play with it. We're looking for all skill sets. Anyone who wants to be involved, we'd love to hear from you.
There you go. That's a great project. I got one quick plug I'll give. If you just want to go check out my latest episode of an in-depth look that I put out last Saturday. It's fun with port scanning. It's like a 7-minute video, and I cover some neat tricks to scan your own machine to check for vulnerabilities, also scan your whole local network, and also audit your machine from the outside.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like 7 minutes, and I go over all that stuff using Nmap, which is an awesome free open source tool.
I gotta say, this was an awesome episode.
Thank you, sir.
This was a really awesome episode. I find topics like this boring as hell, but
I tried to make it fun.
You made it interesting.
Thank you.
And I was interested in it, and now I'm excited to play around with it. There
you go. And there's a new. The timing was perfect because a new release of Nmap just came out that has all kinds of new goodies in it. So I talk about that.
Man. As people in the chat room once said, Nmap is a party in your ports.
That's right. That's right.
Someone in the chat room between the breaks made that joke, and I thought it was so good We couldn't not say it. I don't even remember who that was.
All right. Well, B-Man, I think that just about wraps up this week's episode of the Linux Action Show. Now,
Pretty much.
Of course, we'll be back here next Sunday like we are every single week over at JupiterBroadcasting.com.
That's where we're at.
Dude, totally. Any other things we should mention?
I hope to God not, because my voice is going.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode, and we'll see you right back here next Sunday.
Right here.
Oh, okay.
You know
Let me
what I'm
ask you this. Do you have a strategy to avoid having to pee in the middle of the night?
Do I?
Do you have like a cutoff time at night where you got to stop taking in liquids so that way you don't have to get up in the middle of the night?
Sometimes. I try and stick to it, but I
Did you have that when you were like 20?
Did I have that strategy?
Yeah, did you have to have a strategy when you were 20? Is this like a first sign of like, okay, getting a little bit older? I'm wondering. I'm always afraid of that.
Here's the thing, Chris. My bladder is the size of like a walnut.
Ooh.
Like I've always had to pee a lot.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you know,
true. I know.
How many times do we go to a movie?
Yeah.
And
Usually
you and I are out on a date.
Yeah.
We're out on a man date.
Holding hands.
And right,
Wait, what?
we're getting a little snuggly. We're sharing a bucket of popcorn, and you're like, "Oh, I just drank all the cherry Coke. You want me to get a refill?" No, I'll get it. But how many times do I have to get up during the movie to pee?
At least 2.
At least 2.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So I've always peed at night.
Well, it's good for you.
And you know what they say? They did a study.
Heart disease, right?
Heart disease.
I
Yeah.
know.
If you guys who hold their bladder too much are more likely to die of a heart attack.
And also it's double compounded because those people are most likely to be commuters, so they're also often most likely to more likely to be sedentary during the day.
So here's how I've gotten around this. I decide to not work in an office.
Jay Viewer 7 says, "Can we talk about Linux, please?"
I work from home, so no commuting, and I just pee all the time.
Yeah.
Like constantly pee.
Have you ever tried to pee while driving?
Like one step, yes, I have. One step short of just wearing a diaper. Like I'm just going to the bathroom all the time.
I had 100.
You mean like put a bottle or a cup?
I had a
or something
100-mile
in front?
drive.
Yeah.
And all I had in the car was a water bottle. I probably shouldn't share this story.
No, go ahead.
No.
This is a good one.
No, I probably shouldn't share
You want
this
me to dive in with
because
one?
it involves the size of.
See, I've got a similar story. So I did one. I had a Thomas Kemper root beer bottle. And you know the Thomas Kemper root beer bottle is very small.
Very small.
Hard to get the in there.
Yeah.
Like it's just not. I mean, I can't aim it in there, and you know you're looking, so you've got only one hand to work with. Now here's the thing. Let me see if I can give an example here. Here's a mouse.
Yeah.
And a bottle opener.
Sure.
Now you got to hold the bottle opener as a bottle, and you got to hold both.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do.
It is, and there's like a suction factor involved.
Oh
too,
God, the suction factor,
because
right?
you seal the hole, right? So I mean, it's like.
Wait a minute, you did it weird then, because that meant you were sucking in.
No. So what I did is, so the problem is,
so you pushed and then I got it.
There's air in that thing, and all right. So
see, I have the exact opposite problem. Like I can make a good suck, and then as that fills up with urine, it pushes the air.
That's what I'm saying.
And then pop.
That was my problem.
And then it's like that toy when you were a kid, and it's going all over like this.
That
and spraying
that
like
didn't
crazy.
happen.
That happens with me.
But the McDonald's
Like every
container would be
morning.
the ideal thing because it's got a big
Like
lid
a
on
cup?
there.
Yeah. No, you use a big McDonald's cup
Yeah.
is pretty good.
But then as you start going, you're like, what do I do if I fill this thing?
Oh come on. You just get the really big one. You're never gonna fill that.
No, I'm saying like in my situation, that was my problem. But all right. So
Okay.
chat room says we went too far. I think that's our sign to start. All right, let's do this.
Let's
do
rock
this
and roll.
thing.